And I'm Ashley.
And I'm Edie. I'm Matt.
And this is Max,
our dog.
And we are
the
Beau Luna
Adventures!
That's actually right.
Please subscribe to follow our journey.
Right, we're just going to make sure that the window not leaking. We've got a kettle full of water. And we're just pouring it over now. And we're looking pretty good. Which is good. Okay. Yeah, can't see any water leaking from anywhere.
Woohoo!
I know, so that's good. I'd just reseal it if it was, but I'm glad that it's not. So yeah. Yeah, okay, that's brilliant. Yeah, so this is the window on the other side, and there was a gap all the way around the edge on this as well, but I managed to get the sealant round it. It was a bit of a pain of a job, but I managed to seal it all off just to make it a little bit more aerodynamic and to make sure that water's not collecting against the surface of the van in the upper bit parts of it and that. I left the bottom free on this one because it's got vents in it. I don't think the camera will pick it up, but yeah, I left the bottom free but sealed all the way around. So I've drawn around the window and now I've transferred that onto a thin piece of ply, 5mm, 6mm piece of ply, and now I'm just jigsawing out the centre, and then this whole panel will fit over the window recess. I'll explain the rest as we go along. Okay, there we go. There's my window reveal. Just got to neaten it up a bit and we'll see if it fits. Alright, so there's my diagram with my measurements on. Bit rough and rudimentary. And here's the cutout. So, let's see how we fit in. Okay, it's pretty close. I've just got to sand a couple of bits off, just tiny bits, just so it fits as close as possible, and then I'll be happy with that. So after much sanding and federalisation, we're fitting pretty well, pretty snug in there. This side's sticking out a bit, and I think it's because it's actually fouling on this piece of the window strengthening here, or panel strengthening. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim it down a bit, because I don't really need all this. This was just to be able to bond it in as many areas as possible to the body to give it some strength, but I don't think I need all that now looking at it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down a bit, and then we should fit in pretty well. But yeah, and I've got it pretty close. There we go. So it sits on there quite nicely actually. So that's going to be the background. It's pretty much level with the van, or level with the these struts in the van, these strengthening struts. And what we're going to do is, I've already cut one, but I cut it too shallow. We wanted something a bit deeper just to put our books or phones on and things like that at night. So that's going to be attached there like that. I've also had to go at an angle here. If I cut it exactly square, because of the angle of the side of the van, it would actually sit like that. So I've planed it along here, so it, rather than sitting like that, it actually sits parallel with the floor. So yeah, to get it all fitting nicely, I actually found a roll of tape that fitted in here really nicely to make these contours. They just fitted perfectly. And then I used the jigsaw to cut out the centerpiece. There's a bit missing here, and that's just because this bit of the strengthening strut sticks out further than any of the others. So because you're not going to see it, that had to be removed to stop it pushing this away from the body of the van and the window. So at the minute it's really nice snug fitting. And then these bits of 12mm ply on here, I bonded these last night just so I got something for this to bond to once it's ready to go in place. So that's where I'm at today. Let's crack on. Just cutting some of this thermoacoustic dodo mat insulation to go in the gaps here. I'm not sure what good it will do, but since I've got it, I might as well use it. So it'll just take up, the wood's got a thermal value anyway, so that'll stop some of the cold getting from the shell of the van and some of the condensation into the actual van itself. And so this is just to plug the gaps in between. And so yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Okay, so around this back window I've got it insulated with the little wood panels, also this thermoacoustic foil, and then I've just popped some insulation in, the sort of fluffy polyester stuff where I can stuff it in just to try and get it as sealed as possible. I know that this is going to be a massive conductor anyway, so it's going to be a condensation trap, but at least for the window I can actually wipe it down. Anything that's underneath the boarding I won't be able to, so that's why I'm going to town trying to get as much insulation in there as possible. I've left the wood exposed because this is where I want my template or my wooden frame. That's what I want it to bond to. I don't want it to bond to the, so I've not gone all the way over with the silver foil tape, because if the van gets really hot, which I'm presuming it will at some point, I don't want the adhesive to fail on the tape and it bring the wood forward. I want it to bond to these actual wooden blocks that have actually bonded to the outside of the van. So next thing to do is to get the windowsill and attach it to the actual board. But before I do that, because this is quite a weighty piece of wood, I've got a 12mm piece of ply here, which I want to get onto the frame of the van, which will help hold that in place. Okay, so that's the next job. But before I can do that, I need to vapor barrier these edges around here. So that's going to be what I'm doing now. Okay, it's pretty much dark and I've just got a little flashlight in here to light it up. But I've put some insulation, PIR board, cut that around this window, the window board. I'm just going to nip it off. I've got down here the window sill. So what I need to do now is get that on there like that. Need to get the windowsill dead level with this bottom part of the window, and equal amounts of window shelf sticking out either end. That looks okay. Let's get a clamp on it, and a clamp on it this end as well. So that should theoretically be how it's going to look. Right, so I just put 3 countersunk pilot holes and screws in there just to hold the sill to the actual window board. So let's see how we do now. Okay, yes. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how well you'll be able to see that, but I think that looks very splendid. So I'll show you again in the daytime. Okay, so I have sealed around with the expanding foam. That'll help hold this solid, hold it in place. And these bits of tape here are just to hold it in place while the expanding foam goes off. I don't want it to get behind and push the insulation board forward, because I've not got much play between where the battens are going to go for the tongue and groove. And these bits of tape here are just to cover the nails or spikes from the holding clips. So I'm just going to put some foil tape over those. These ones here just to continue the vapor barrier, and these ones here I'll just either leave or remove once the foam's gone off, but I've only just put it on, so it needs time to set yet. All vapor barriered up, so there's nowhere that vapor can get in between the wooden blocks that the window board's going to be bonded to and the insulation behind it. So that's good, it's all completely taped up. And now I'm just going to make sure that, now I've put all that tape on and everything, that the window board and the window sill fits. So let's have a look, shall we? Yeah, okay, so that goes straight on. That's brilliant. Okay, so I've got good beads of glue, adhesive, all the way on these wooden patches, wooden blocks where it's going to connect, and then I've just put a bead around there as well, bolt and braces. And now this is going to go straight onto there. So I'm just pushing it on, make sure it's got a good bond. Okay, right, that should be good. So now that may hold itself in place as it is, but what I'm going to do is put this underneath now. So this is where I put the pilot holes in, just these two. The finish that we finally got on the window board, getting it really close around the window frame that stuck out, we were really pleased with it. It took a bit of sanding and a bit of fettling, but looked really good in the end, really close. That's the shelf all in place, and it's held by this 12mm piece of ply underneath that's also screwed into the beam that I put underneath. So this is really solid now, and the back panel's adhered to the wooden chocks that I put in behind it, and this boxing in is just laid on top at the minute. I need to work out some of these finer angles just so it fits nice and flush, but then nearly getting there with this back window. Really pleased with how the scaffolding shelf has turned out. It's got a coat of Fiddy's hard wax oil on it, and it's really brought out all the patterning and the blemishes and what have you, and made it look even more rustic probably than it did before. And I love that it's got all these splits in it and character. It just feels absolutely lovely and looks great, I think. This back bit was the reclaimed piece of ply. It's about 5mm ply that we got from a house that was being renovated just down the road, and it's got a couple of blemishes in it that you couldn't really see originally, but now it's been painted up, you can see a few lines in it and things like that, and I just think it adds to the character. I think it was brilliant. And once we've got the sides of the boxing in, the sides of the frame and the top, I think that's just going to look excellent. This backing has had 2 coats of primer, a coat of undercoat, and now it's had a coat of top coat as well. That went on last night, so that's all nice and dry now. It's looking fantastic. Needs one more coat of top coat on it, I think, just to give it a real tough, durable finish. So I'm just going to give it a rub down with a sanding pad and then get that last coat on, and then we'll be ready to go, ready to fix everything in place, I think. Because the next job after that is going to be battening out and tongue and grooving the walls in the same white to match this, but obviously it's going to be boxed out in the Fiddy's hard wax. And the windowsill, the scaffolding board, matches the ceiling, which is in the same Fiddy's hard wax in English, and it'll also match this small bunk window that we've got in here. I think with the contrast of the white tongue and groove going down the walls, that's just going to look muy grande. 120 sanding pad, give it a quick rub down. So that's all looking and feeling really smooth now. So it's ready for the top coat, and that light sanding will also aid the next coat, just sticking to it, bonding to it, adhering to it. So yeah, happy days. So I think one of the reasons that the tongue groove has taken a little bit longer than I expected it to was working out the areas around the windows. So because of the way that the tongue groove fell around the windows, which wasn't planned, it's just the way it kind of happened naturally, it's actually got the tongue groove fits in with it really nicely. So it was easy to sort of whittle them down with a sharp knife and then just sand them slightly flat if there was any raised edges, rather than try and go at them with a jigsaw or a handsaw or anything like that. But it did work out really nice. I'm really pleased with how neat the finish is. So yeah, just got to transfer that knowledge now that I've learned doing that one onto the little window, the tiny little bunk window on the other side, and we'll see how that goes. So there we are, the window is completed. All the tongue grooves in around it now, painted up in white, and I think the overall effect is brilliant. I'm really pleased with the overall effect. If you made it this far to the end of the video, thank you very much. Please give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you want to see more of this content, and we'll catch you again soon.